Hi and welcome, friends. If this is your first time here, my name is Tiffany and I'm the International Witch. I've recently had some commenters ask if I would be interested in making Grimoire pages, and absolutely. So I opened up my Grimoire and I started going through and thinking about what I have here, what I need to add to it. And I realized that while I've made a lot of posts on my blog, I haven't transferred any of my blog posts over into my Grimoire. So everything I've written about the iron and the fae and coral and all of these apotropaic magics that I'm extremely interested in, but none of them are in my Grimoire. So I think that would be the great start for my very first video. So big shout out and thank you so much for suggesting that. It's hard for me to come up with ideas for videos because I'm never quite sure what you want to see, but by leaving the comments with suggestions, I'm able to go into my next video with much more confidence, so thank you. This time, on a whim, I decided to challenge myself with a new product, and this is going to be the first time ever that I try oil paints. And I have no idea if this is a good oil paint set or not. It's literally the only kind of oil paint I had access to, so this is my test subject. And right around here is when I realized that I may have fucked up. After doing the quick Google search that I probably should have done before starting this, I realized that I have absolutely nothing in my home to thin this paint down. So that is totally on me. That is not the paint's fault. I am an idiot, but I am an adventurous idiot. So I'm going to continue on with this painting, and it's painful. Okay, it's painful. I don't have any of the stuff to thin it down, and this is like painting with oil pastels, which I guess makes sense because oil pastels are oil paint. But anyways, I do find that I like the slow drying time on the oil paints because, like, as you'll see later, I come back in to do shading and it just, it just blends so nicely. So I'm definitely going to continue with oil paints, but I'm probably going to go out and buy the supplies that, responsible people are supposed to. For today's video, I'm not going to go too in-depth on red coral, and that's only because I've already done an entire YouTube video on the Apotropaic magic that is prevalent here in Italy, and red coral is mentioned. I will leave a link below to that, as well as I also did an entire blog post on red coral. Once again, that will be linked in the description. But I just wanted to have this Grimoire page to put in my Grimoire going forward. One thing I will say about red coral that I find absolutely fascinating is that the majority of the red coral jewelry that you see out today, almost all of it came from here, the Bay of Naples. This place was the first that had this type of coral, and don't get this confused. Red coral that is found here in the Mediterranean is not the same as the one red coral variety that is found off the coast in Japan. They are completely different, and they are grown at different depths of the sea. The one in Japan has to be like thousands of feet below the water, whereas the Mediterranean coral is from 0 to 300 feet. So back when this stuff was found, obviously we didn't have the ability to go down thousands of feet, so this was the only option of red coral there was in the world. And in the 1830s, well, up to the 1830s, between the 1600s and the 1830s, due to overconsumerism and using nets to troll the bottom of the bay to get all the fish and coral, they almost wiped out the entire species of red coral here. As a matter of fact, the Bay of Naples was once the only place in the entire world you can find it, and now there's hardly any here anymore. And luckily, the species has survived, but it has gone outwards more into the Sorrento coast and farther out in the Mediterranean Ocean. But almost all of the jewelry you see comes from that period of overconsumption from the Bay of Naples. So please, 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 if you are purchasing something that is red coral, please do your due diligence and check and see if it was obtained by good means or not, ethically sourced, because we have almost made red coral extinct. You can see here what I mean about the colors blending together so well. Yes, this does mean that the oil paint takes longer to dry. It takes up to 48 hours to be dry to the touch, but I really do think it gives such great shading. I could have went a little darker, I think. I think I played it too safe, but this is just me having a good time and playing with a new thing and learning the pros and cons to it. So overall, I think this is very successful. I'm really happy with it. Next up, I'm going to be painting Italy's 3 most famous Apotropaic magic charms, and that is the cornicello, the gobbo, and the mano cornuta. And the cornicello is often referred to simply as the corno, and it's meant to look like an upside down horn or a chili pepper. There are some people who say that it's supposed to be a chili pepper because chili peppers are vibrant, good luck, virility, vitality. And then there are some people who say that no, it's supposed to be a horn. And when you ask them, well, why do you want to carry a horn? Well, it's kind of one of those, if a bad demon or bad juju or whatever you want to call malocchio, bad evil eye comes to get you, you can show him the horn and be like, hey dude, you don't want to mess with me. This is what happened to the last dude who tried to mess with me. I literally broke his horn off. And I just find that so Italian. Just, hey, don't mess with me. I've already fought someone bigger than you. As an American, the next charm, the mano cornuta, is probably familiar because we see the rock and roll horns. But here in Italy, it is always pointed downwards. If you point the horns downwards, then it casts any bad luck down to hell or, where it belongs. But if you ever do the rock and roll horns upwards to somebody, that is like an ultimate insult. You are putting a curse on them. You are putting the malocchio on them. So do not do the American rock and roll horns here. Always point your fingers down. And the last charm is il gobbetto, which literally translates to the hunchback. It's more commonly called the gobbo, and in Italy, while it may not be PC elsewhere, the hunchback is actually a very good luck person because they're thought of to be resilient and they're a symbol of overcoming adversity, and it's often given to someone who is about to be embarking on a new endeavor or is facing challenges that they need to overcome. You'll often see the gobbo with a corno on the bottom half of him, and it's supposed to be extra good luck if you rub his hunchback. If you're wondering why his hand looks like a claw, it's actually because he's holding a horseshoe. The keychain doesn't really change color there, so it does look strange when I first start to paint, but I promise you, no claw, he's holding a horseshoe. I gave my paintings time to dry, and then I photographed them and I uploaded them into Photoshop. And this is what I consider the most fun of the process. I enjoy painting and I feel that I'm a very creative person, but I absolutely love using the computer. That's why I actually have a degree in applied arts instead of like you'll hear an Associates of Arts. I have an Associates of Applied Arts, and that's because I love art on the computer. I was a graphic designer for 12 years. When I came to Italy, I was no longer allowed to work. Unfortunately, the military here, their spouses are not allowed to work unless it is purely for the US government. So the week that we moved here for my husband's job, I had to quit my job, which made me very sad because I love creating things with the computer. So I always make art and I try to incorporate it into the computer somehow. So my Grimoire page is often a hybrid. And before anyone says anything, I know that the newer versions of Photoshop have easier ways of deleting the background off of images, but this is Adobe CS4. I got this when I was a student in college. This is old AF. And you know what? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. It works for me. I've used it all these years, and I am not about to go to a pay by month for this. You will have to pry Adobe Photoshop 4 out of my cold, dead hands before I will start paying monthly for this. Sorry, not sorry. I design and print all of my Grimoire pages on tea-stained paper, so I don't actually need to be very precise and like perfect and delete everything, but I am doing this purely for you guys. If any of you want to print this on white paper, I am being very careful with my art so that everything I do will look good on white paper as well as tea-stained paper. If you have subscribed to my newsletter, then you have access to my Grimoire section of my website, and you know that I love all of my Grimoire pages to be very medieval looking. It's just something very witchy about it that I adore, and I know all of my bullet journal is Art Nouveau. And I think I've come to the realization of why I love the two very different styles so much. And it's because both of these styles are based on beauty. Like, the Art Nouveau was a rejection of the strict, rigid lines, and everything was very organic and natural. In medieval times, very few people could afford a book. So when someone had a bishop or, the monks make them a book, this was going to be passed down through generations. It was meant to be a family heirloom. The detail, the gold foil lettering, it is immaculate. And honestly, I really, really miss the fact that we put so much effort into the books. Once again, all of this fancy, detailed cutting out stuff is not really necessary for me, but to make sure that no matter what you print on, this should look good for you. So I hope you like it, because it took me like 2 hours. You're watching everything sped up times 800 on my video. This is not how long it actually took me to make these pages. So you're welcome. As I mentioned earlier, all of my pages, including my bullet journal pages, are free for people who get my newsletter. If you click on the link below that takes you to my website and you sign up for my newsletter, you will receive a code in your email. That code is entered directly into the Grimoire section of my website, and every page that I create is free for you to download. And since I've opened this up to the community for you to be able to download and print at home, please feel free, leave me a comment below and ask me if there's any kind of Grimoire page that you really want to see, or if there's a special kind of bullet journal layout theme that you might want to see, because once again, I will make this video and then it's free for you to print. For some reason, I forgot to record the mano cornuta part, but I did make sure to do test prints both on white paper as well as the tea stain paper to make sure everything was perfect, and it should be uploaded on the website as soon as this video goes live. Now the only thing that's left to do is put these pages in my grimoire where they belong. Once again, thank you so much to the viewer that recommended the Grimoire page. If you have any ideas of what you'd like to see next, make sure to leave it down in the comments below. If you could, give me a thumbs up, like, and subscribe. Love you. Bye.